guys, welcome to Overcrest. I'm Kris.
And I'm Jake.
Jake, are you feeling fast today?
I'm feeling real fast. I got my coffee.
Are you feeling fast? We've got a great episode for you guys today. We're going to be talking about some things that are very fast. And then we're going to cap the episode off with some things that are very slow.
Yeah.
And then we've got a bonus for the Drivers Club members if you're going to stick around for that. This will be a fun episode.
I love it. All right. So, Kris, this is about speed, the relentless pursuit of going faster than ever before. It's always been captured by humanity's imagination. And
Has it?
do you feel the need for speed, Kris? Speed?
I do feel
I feel the need for speed.
You know, Eleanor Roosevelt likes speed too, Jake. Her
Did
quote
he?
is, what do you mean, did he? Eleanor Roosevelt is a woman.
I know. All right, continue.
America is all about speed. Hot, nasty, badass speed.
What?
That's Eleanor Roosevelt.
Eleanor Roosevelt?
Yes, well, attributed
real?
in the film Talladega Nights. So I don't know if it's actually true or
perfect.
not.
Thank you.
Yeah,
No,
yeah.
definitely not. Okay, I was just hung up on the stupid Top Gear quote because I remembered that being much cooler than it just sounds. It sounds really nerdy.
What?
Anyways.
That's Top Gun. That's not nerdy.
Yeah, it sounds nerdy.
Oh,
Speed. I feel the need for speed. Yay! Woo!
That's what they
I
did.
feel the need for speed.
I think it's cooler if you're wearing an Air Force flight suit and you're giving
You
somebody
need
a
your
high five.
aviators, for sure.
Yeah.
All right, so for the vast majority of human history, things haven't actually been that fast. Like everything today is really fast. We measured speed in miles per hour, kilometers per hour, even like light years. But up until like basically fairly recently in human history, speed was limited to what we could witness and what we could achieve with our own bodies or with the help of animals. Think about it. For tens of thousands of years, the fastest thing humans could imagine was maybe like the flight of an arrow or like how fast a horse could run.
Or falling
Right?
off a cliff. Like if you
That
fell, that was
potentially
fast.
could be fast. That's
9.8 meters per second squared.
That's correct.
Fast. Yeah.
That's actually an acceleration, not a speed. But anyways, it wasn't until the Industrial Revolution that things began to change. Steam power transformed the very concept of speed. Trains could now move people and goods at speeds that would have been miraculous to earlier generations.
Hold on a second. Just because we're talking about things that are fast does not
Doesn't mean
that
I
you
have to
need-
go really, really fast. So the next
Slow
5 minutes, I'm
down!
going to go really, really fast, and we're going to do it, and it's going to be great. And my hair is going to get
Slow
higher
down.
the faster I go.
Slow down. I do want to remind people if we're talking about trains that we did a super
Yes.
amazing train series. You should go back and find it. It's how the railroad changed the Great
The
American West.
Indomitable Iron Road.
Oh God,
a
it's one of my
three-part
favorite things we
series.
ever did.
It was really good. Yeah, I actually was kind of like thinking back on that while I was just doing this short little segment. I don't know.
Many
if we
people are
talked
new.
about
We're
it.
at like we're at like 475, 76 episodes now. I mean, that was hundreds of episodes ago. So a lot of people are new listening. Go back and find it. It's
We-
there. It's
we
not going to
should
be on
do-
YouTube because there's no video for that. But
Yeah, we
there.
should do just like what our favorite episodes have been out of those 400 or 500.
Yeah, maybe we'll do a bonus. Anyway, continue. But
So
let's bring
anyways,
let's
yes.
bring the pressure in the boiler down a little bit.
Gotta
Yeah, there you
gotta
go.
boil off
Choo-choo.
here. Okay. Yeah. So the famous rocket locomotive that was in 1829. There it is, Kris.
It doesn't look
It
fast,
hit.
Jake.
Oh, it was a freaking rocket, Kris. It hit a top speed of 30 miles per hour. The world was awestruck. 30 miles
30.
per hour. Can you imagine?
How fast was a horse?
Well,
How fast do horses run?
it could go faster than that, but not for a long time. Like you do
Okay.
30 miles an hour for like across the country. Are you
Right.
kidding me? Yeah, when steam trains first became common, people were like genuinely worried that traveling at such speeds would suffocate passengers. You couldn't breathe at that speed, or your organs might collapse. There was all this weird, like you didn't know. And the same thing
I
goes
have to
later.
say, I'm bummed that we don't have anything like that anymore.
I know.
Like we have no things could we discover other than, I guess the quantum realm could be pretty weird. Like if we start suddenly
Yeah,
phasing
I
into
don't
different
even-
dimensions, you probably can't breathe then either. But
probably
there's really nothing
not.
left. There's really nothing left. Once we broke the sound barrier,
Well, that's
That
what I
was
was going
it.
to say is this same kind of fear came about with the sound barrier. People were like, well, what's going to happen? Is it going to be like hitting a brick wall? Like, you can't do it. It's impossible.
yeah.
It's crazy. Yeah, by the late 19th and early 20th century, speed became a defining feature of modern life. Everything is fast.
How much
Cars
do you know about
replaced
that train,
horses.
Jake? That train that you
The
posted?
bullet
Did you
or
yeah.
whatever?
No,
Not
the rocket.
The rocket. Not much.
Yeah.
Just that was a turning point. Did 30 miles an hour.
30
Craziness.
miles an hour. Okay.
Craziness, Chris. Yep. So entering kind of the 20th century, the Wright brothers' first powered flight in 1903 reached a scorching 6.8 miles per hour.
Whew.
But that did mark the beginning of humanity's conquest into the
Well, that's
air.
more than 0 because previous human flight was 0 miles per hour.
No, it was 9.8 seconds squared, actually, as you
You're right. You're right. You're right. But it
Of
always
course.
ended in 0.
Yeah, very quickly.
Yes.
It's not the fall that kills you. It's the
It's the
sudden stop. Of course, the advancements during war, World War I and II, pushed things even further. The need for faster planes, stronger, more powerful engines, quicker responses, all drove innovation, as we talked about. By the end of World War II, jet propulsion technology had emerged, and humanity was knocking on the door of supersonic speeds. In 1947, Chuck Yeager became the first person to break the sound barrier, piloting the Bell X-1 at 700 miles per hour. And breaking the sound barrier wasn't just a milestone, it was a cultural phenomenon. For the first time, speed wasn't just practical, it was exhilarating. And as incredible as these achievements are, they were just the beginning. The space age, starting in the mid-20th century, redefined the limits of speed altogether. Rockets, spacecraft, experimental technologies all soon took hold and took us beyond our atmosphere into the cosmos, where speed isn't measured in miles per hour, but in terms of escape velocity and light speed and orbital mechanics.
It's crazy how the faster we got, the less human beings paid attention to how fast we were going. Think about that. Just think of like the faster we get, all of a sudden we're going to the moon. Everybody got bored. We had space shuttles. Nobody really was, it's just the faster we got.
We're good.
Now we've got
Who cares?
like these hypersonic missiles and stuff. I don't want to get into I don't want to step on your toes. So I don't want to get into details.
Yeah.
But the faster we go, the less we pay attention. It's wild.
Chris, can you define hypersonic? I'm going to quiz you right now.
Hypersonic.
I will
we have
define it later.
supersonic, which is
if you knew,
which is exceeding. When you say it's super something, you're superseding. You're doing more than. You are exceeding you're exceeding the thing. Hyper must be
my current caffeination level.
Yeah, I was gonna say it's probably the way your child runs when you're chasing after him is hypersonic speed, I guess.
Exactly. Yes. Speaking of speed, you can make your European cars as speedy as they need to be and up to snuff with FCP Euro. They're an online retailer of OE, OEM, genuine aftermarket, and performance parts for European cars.
Jake?
BMW, Porsche.
I have been looking, they have APR stuff. I've been staring at the big turbo for the Golf now that it needs it.
500 horsepower, here we come. Let's go.
Oh, man.
Let's go. Then everything starts to break, you realize. Then
I think 400 horsepower is the limit before things start to break. So, which is not that much more power. I have like 360.
Can your clutch handle that?
No, my clutch is already
So, all right. So we got to get a clutch from FCP Euro.
Yep.
We have to you might start getting into axle issues at that point, just beyond 400, depending on how hard you launch it. Right.
I never launch it. That's stupid. Launching is for teenagers.
And rockets. Well, with FCP Euro, every product they sell is backed by a lifetime replacement guarantee, even wear items like wiper blades, brake pads, and oil filters. With the opening of their distribution center in Mesa, Arizona, FCP Euro is now shipping from both coasts, serving most of the country in 3 days or less with free shipping. We, of course, have been working with FCP Euro for years, can vouch for them. Real people, real enthusiasts, and they really care about their customers. Check them out, fcpeuro.com. Free shipping on any order over $49.
Really, really, really appreciate FCP Euro. Looking forward to doing some great things with them in 2025. Thanks for supporting us, guys.
Absolutely. All right. So, Chris, this list is going to be the world's fastest man-made objects.
Oh, just objects, not even.
Well, here I'm starting with like the fastest vehicles and everything, but I wanted to expand beyond that. Right. Okay. So this isn't like a comprehensive list. There's going to be things in between these where it's like, well, what about that one? That one was in between there and went faster than that one. No, this isn't like literally the top 5 fastest.
Okay.
These are like the most exciting, interesting things that I decided I wanted to talk about. So since we're primarily an automotive-based podcast, I figured it made sense to kick things off with something that hits close to home, the fastest car ever. And let's start with a bit of a disclaimer here. When we talk about the fastest car, we need to put car.
We need to put some rules here.
Right. So when it comes to land speed records, Chris, the vehicles in question hardly resemble what most of us would think of as a car or what we have.
Okay, so we're not talking fastest road car or fastest track car. We're just
that's boring and it gets pedantic. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So I'm just saying, we're starting out. What is the fastest car ever?
Fastest car, period.
Fastest car.
Can we define car?
Right. So that's what I'm going to do right here, because it is kind of weird. Take the Spirit of America, for instance. This was developed by Craig Breedlove back in 1963. This was a jet-powered vehicle, and it hit an astonishing 407 miles per hour in 1963. However, the accomplishment wasn't even initially recognized. At the time, the existing vehicle breached the FIA regulations. Not only did it not have 4 wheels, it only had 3. There it is. It wasn't wheel driven at all. It had a jet engine that didn't supply power to its axis.
3 wheels, not a car.
Really? Right off the bat?
Right off the bat. 3 wheels, it is a tricycle. It is
world's fastest tricycle. Yeah, perfect. I love it.
Perfect.
Let's go.
Perfect. Doesn't every child want the world's fastest tricycle? No, I'm just saying, I think 4 wheels is, I guess, there's some 3-wheeled, I guess there are some 3-wheeled.
Yeah, what about a Reliant Robin? Is that a
car?
That's a trike. You're right. It's
a
trike.
What about a Can-Am? Those little Can-Am 3-wheel
I hate those. No. Though, and technically,
what about
if we're talking about laws, they are not cars. They are considered motorcycles in many states, in most states.
What's the little wooden boat tail thing that's got 2 wheels?
The Morgan 3-wheeler.
The Morgan. Is that a car?
Yeah. Nope.
Okay.
Legally speaking, that is a motorcycle.
So what you just had up on the screen, is that a car?
No.
Okay.
Definitely not.
Okay. All right. Keep going.
Again, we're talking about skipping cars altogether.
Okay. So we're going to go to the world's fastest, not a car. Go ahead.
Correct. Let's go. Okay. So it wasn't until some time later that the Fédération Internationale de Motorcyclisme, it has motorcyclism in the name. That's the FIM. They created a non-wheel driven category and then ratified the Spirit of America's time for this accomplishment. This, of course, paved the way for numerous other jet and rocket powered vehicles. I'm calling it vehicles from now on, not car.
Okay.
And
what's a vehicle? That is just something that it carries a thing from one place to another. Anything is a vehicle then.
Right. Okay. Well, there's going to be a lot of vehicles on this list then.
Okay. Sounds good. I'll try not to screw you over and interrupt you anymore.
No, please do. That's the only thing that makes this fun. The first entry into our fastest things to ever been created is the Thrust SSC.
Ooh. Dude,
that is not it. That is not it, because I'm going to get to it in a second. The Thrust SSC looks even better. And I think I have a video that I'll have you play in a minute. Not yet, though.
Okay.
So this vehicle was built by a British team led by one Richard Noble. There's the Thrust SSC. Dude,
that thing look at it. That thing at least had 10 Viagras before this photo was taken.
So good. So good. Look at that thing.
Talk about when someone's like, yeah, I got a 72 Camaro. Thing's all motor. This thing is all motor. Just look at it. Look at it. Hey, do you want hey, Jake, do you like things that are big and black? Because I got the thing for you right here. All power.
It's
big, long, black. There's even 2 of them, which I hear is something that can happen statistically, although it is very rare.
It looks like a pod racer. Remember the stupid sequels or prequels, rather? Star Trek, Star Wars.
It does look like a pod racer. Gosh dang, that thing is cool.
That's pretty cool. Okay, so this was built by Mr. Noble. He's a British dude who is no stranger to the pursuit of speed. He was a native Scotsman, and his first entry into the record
Noble
books,
Cars? Is this Mr. Noble of Noble Cars? Do we know this?
I don't think it's that Noble.
Okay, go ahead.
Richard Noble. He's a Scotsman. His first entry into the record books was in 1983 when he personally piloted the Thrust 2. Mr. Producer, that was the first photo that you had up. And this thing he personally drove to over 630 miles per hour in the Black Rock Desert of Nevada. Let's show that Thrust 2 again, because that one's still Very cool. Oh my gosh, Kris, do you see it? Do you see it? Just look at the sponsors? Do you see it?
Fabergé.
Turbo by Fabergé.
Yes! Boy. Oh man,
That's
Turbo
a throwback.
by Fabergé. The real OG Overcrest fans will know. They'll know.
Yes. Oh man, I still have that.
I'm looking at this thing's held together with Loctite. I mean, if you're going to do an ad for Loctite, I think this is a pretty good bet. If this thing held together,
this is perfect. Yes.
What color Loctite do you think they used? What colors do we have? We have blue.
Blue and
comes
red.
off.
Blue comes off. Red is supposed to be permanent. And then you get into all the weird like industrial stuff that isn't even color coded. Anyways, what did I say? 630 mile an hour record stood for over a decade.
Jake, there's 4 colors.
Really?
Purple, blue, red, and green.
What's purple?
I don't know. I'm going to try and see how fast
green.
I can find this. All right. Purple, low strength. Calibrate screws, gauges, and meters. Thread locker for probably pipes.
Okay.
You want to be able to disassemble with hand tools. Blue is medium strength. Disassembly with hand tools. Did you know it has a 24-hour cure time? I did not.
No, we never.
Red, high strength. Loctite Red will be able to secure any fastener up to 27 millimeters. Great. I've got all kinds of those. This means it's a strong performer when it comes to heavy equipment, such as motor and pump mounts and suspension bolts. Strong enough to keep. It doesn't say permanent in any way.
No.
Now, green, slightly different than other Loctite products. This thread locker uses capillary action to penetrate into pre-assembled fasteners. Low viscosity, thinner and runnier than usual Loctite.
Oh, here you go.
Not an ad.
Medium strength, high strength, and wicking. Yeah, so like if you already have the bolt down in there, you can just throw some of that on. They should just make that in a spray can, and you can just spray it all over everything if it just goes down in there, right? Why wouldn't you?
Yeah, just start installing that on all your daughter's zippers. Just spray the Loctite on there. The guy's like, can't get it.
Oh God. Okay. Anyways, the Thrust 2, which was, of course, sponsored by Loctite. It stood in his record for over a decade and marked him as a pioneer in the field. And I found it interesting, Kris, that this Richard Noble, he wasn't some wealthy millionaire, right? I was like, how do you get into this? Like, that is not a cheap vehicle to build.
No.
And in fact, to build this Thrust 2, which was his first land speed car, he went so far as to mortgage his own home. So,
damn,
this dude was like committed and dedicated.
Is he married?
I assume not. I know that was my next thought too, which I was like, I'm not going there. But he, of course, then later did get sponsorship because, as you said, it's a great ad for Loctite when you're going 630 miles an hour.
Yeah, that was no moneymaker. Let's be honest.
No.
Nah.
Oh, the whole operation. Yeah, definitely
no,
not. No, maybe he got to get his house mortgage back, but that's about it.
I kind of doubt it.
Fast forward to the mid 90s.
Oh, there's another photo of that thing. Look at you can see the cockpit
in the
on
museum right now. Yeah, it's rad.
I would love to be like I would love to stumble across this thing as like a 6-7-year-old kid, crawl inside the engine, crawl inside the cockpit, all that stuff. You gotta get your boy out to Alexandria or Virginia
the
and
jet
go to
place
where the SR-71 is. I don't remember what museum it is, but also the Air and Space Museum it's under remodel. It's gonna be done in 2025.
Ooh,
the two.
You realize it is 2025 currently.
That's true. It is. So it'll be done later this year.
Okay.
Those two places had a huge impact on me when I was a kid.
Oh, really?
Being a little boy, walking around the Air and Space Museum and seeing real spacesuits, the lunar lander, like all these different things. And you can also in Texas, you can see one of the rockets that took I don't remember what they're called. I just don't have the brain or the memory for knowing what things are named. But it's the rocket that basically sent the astronauts to the moon. You know, the giant
rockets.
the Apollo rockets. They have one there, and you can walk underneath it. It's above your head.
The Saturn.
You can see this stuff.
Series
of the Saturn
rockets. All right. So do you want to hear about? It's amazing, and I'm actually going to get there a little bit into the Apollo stuff. But first, we got to talk about the cars, Kris.
Yes, the vehicles, the non-tricycles.
Yes. So let's hear more about this thing, the big black behemoth.
Yes.
So this was. Let's see. Hold on. I lost my place. Okay.
That's okay.
This is the Thrust SSC. And so we're fast forwarding to the mid 90s, this Richard Noble. He wasn't content on simply having the record of the fastest land speed vehicle. No, he had another objective in mind completely. He wanted to be the first to break the sound barrier on land. This hadn't been done before, Chris. It's like, sure, an airplane has gone that fast, but to do it in a land vehicle is crazy.
What is the speed of sound? What is the number?
So
Mach 1, but what is Mach 1?
Yeah,
You know?
well, it's fast and the speed of sound, first of all, introduces like a whole bunch of new challenges that this vehicle had to go for. And as you're questioning, the speed of sound, it's not like a set or objective speed necessarily, Chris. Technically, it's like 700 or 670 something.
767 miles per hour.
Yes,
Mach 1.
I knew it was either 6.7 or 767. So specifically,
I guess it's a moving target based on the density of the air, right?
Yes, 100%. So what we're referring to when you say the speed of sound is actually the speed at which a wave can propagate through a given medium. In this case, the atmosphere at a given location. So things like humidity and elevation all factor into the speed of sound. There is, however, a very definitive telltale sign when an object reaches this speed: the sonic boom. So when an object exceeds the speed of sound, it compresses air in front of it, forming a series of shock waves. The shock waves merge to create a cone-shaped wave pattern that travels outward. The edge of the cone marks the sonic boom. As this shock wave passes over a stationary observer on the ground, the sudden change in pressure is actually what you're hearing as the boom.
It's far more impressive as a car. And I just looked at, as a vehicle.
Yes.
So at 35,000 feet, the speed of sound is 660 miles per hour. At sea level, it's 767. So it's a 100-mile per hour difference between the two, just based on the density of the air and how even the actual wavelength and the waveform is going to change at those lower densities.
Yeah,
that's why sounds travel so well underwater. I wonder what the speed of sound is underwater. Sorry,
rabbit holes live.
All right, so speed of sound underwater. Give me it
is
miles
this
per hour.
Water or is this fresh water?
Ooh,
right. Because I bet there's a difference there too.
You're out of control.
And then oil.
Wow. Okay. What do you think what do you think the speed of sound is underwater?
So in air, it's 700-ish miles per hour.
Yeah, plus or minus. Yeah.
I bet it's double. I bet it's 1,400 miles per hour.
3,345 miles per hour.
More than quadruple.
Yeah. Nobody's done this.
Overcrest underwater speed record.
Your house is worth more than mine. Let's get the mortgage going.
There we go. Okay, let's play the first video you have loaded up there, Chris. This is the Thrust SSC, and it's actually, you'll hear the sonic boom on its record. Black Rock Desert, the 15th of October, 1997.
Oh my God.
Yeah.
I'd say that was fast.
Wow.
Yeah.
Wow.
So the actual shock wave that's created by going through the sound barrier generates immense pressure differences. The vehicle needs to be designed to withstand these forces without deforming or failing, which is why this vehicle was built from the ground up for this purpose. It's powered by two Rolls-Royce Spray 205 jet engines, the same type used in fighter aircraft such as the McDonnell Douglas F-4 Phantom II, and together they produced an astonishing 110,000 horsepower, which is, by the way, roughly equivalent to the power of 145 Formula One cars, just as a random comparison.
And one set of testicles by Mr. Noble.
By this guy. Yes.
Yeah.
No, he didn't actually pilot this one. Because
so
they
he built it, and they needed a young guy to do it. Otherwise, this dude passes out.
They had an Air Force pilot do it who was used to supersonic flight. Because there's such weird. Yeah. So the vehicle measured over 54 feet long and weighed over 10.5 tons.
It had to. I bet they added ballast to
heavy.
it.
You're probably right.
They had to have added ballast to this thing.
Yeah. So the driver was Andy Green, who was a Royal Air Force fighter pilot. And he was the one that made history when it reached 763 miles per hour, officially breaking the sound barrier and setting a record.
Mr. Producer, make a note to find out if Andy Green is still with us.
I like that.
Okay, let's see if we can. Does anybody in the audience know Andy Green? We got to find
Reach
Andy
out.
Green and get him on the podcast.
Here's a little fun fact. During testing, the team discovered that the shock waves created by the sonic boom would actually shatter windows and any nearby buildings or like vehicles, like even their cars, like they drive out to the desert. As it goes by, boop, there goes all your windows in your car, just shattered.
Yeah,
so
you gotta roll
they
your windows down.
added like special dampening on the vehicle to try to mitigate. The
You have to. It's just like having an explosion be near you. You have to open your mouth. Or
That's
you're, like,
no, that's a wise tale. You don't do that.
Really?
Yeah, no, you don't do that.
I thought you open your mouth so that the pressure doesn't blow your eyeballs out of your head.
That's not a thing. No.
I don't believe
No,
you.
if anything,
I saw it
you
in the
should
movies.
plug your ears. Right. Plug your ears because it's not gonna equalize quick enough anyways in your sinuses. So what you want to do is just contain it. Otherwise, it will blow your eardrums inward. Yeah, I don't think. Yeah. You don't have to hold your breath, but yeah, no, you don't want the pressure in your.
Well,
lungs.
if we're ever in a situation where things.
Okay, you keep your mouth open, and I'll close my ears, and we'll see which one is better. I love this. Okay, so our pilot Andy Green described this quote: "Driving the thrust SSE isn't about steering; it's about aiming. At those speeds, even the smallest mistake can turn catastrophic." After achieving,
I wonder
the
what
record,
lock to lock is on that thing. Like what degrees of turn?
Yeah,
that thing, the U-turn on that thing is not happening. You're not driving that thing to the mall.
Miles. Yeah. It was retired from active service after performing the record, and you can find it on display at the Coventry Transport Museum in the UK. Oh,
wow.
Look at that guy.
I'll never have a photo that good.
That is such a cool photo.
Dang.
All right.
Squadron leader Andy Green. I'm just overcrest guy Kris. Lame.
All right. While you lick your wounds about how
small my testicles are.
Yes. Yeah. Let's move on to our next entry, which is we're going to move beyond land and focus on the fastest piloted vehicle ever. Right.
Ever. Just piloted.
Ever.
This thing has been piloted.
This is the fastest driven thing. Period.
Okay.
And this is
why do you
Bell.
think we say piloted instead of driven? Once things get fast enough, you're piloting it. Like you're no longer driving it. It becomes
right.
Like when things are really slow, you're usually riding them. This is some
Okay.
etymological etymology.
Etymology. Yeah. Etymology.
Etymology.
Yes.
Vehicle. When you're
Vehicle
slow,
etymology.
you're riding something.
No.
When you're a little bit faster, you're driving it. And when you're really fast, you're piloting it.
Nope. It all has to do with etymology of history, right? So you're riding it when you're on top of the horse. You're riding the horse.
Oh, because
when
it's
you're behind the horse,
you're
on
the
cart, you're driving the horse forward. You're driving it with either a whip or reins. You're driving it forward.
You're driving,
which they
it's
applied
like a cattle drive
to a car. Right.
Yeah.
Yes. Piloting, I don't know where that came from, but that's clearly different. Maybe it's no, because you can pilot a boat, right?
Yes, sir.
But you don't captain, or like you don't captain a fighter jet. You pilot a fighter jet. So I don't understand that.
Maybe someone can leave a comment and tell us what the difference is.
So our vehicle, the next one, is the Bell X-15. This was the product of a joint program by NASA, the U.S. Air Force, and the U.S. Navy during the 1960s to push the boundaries of speed,
zoom in on that thing, Mr. Producer.
altitude, and aerodynamics. The X-15 was designed to test the limits of hypersonic flight, which is, here you go, Kris, speeds greater than Mach 5.
Okay.
So 5 times the speed of sound is hyper.
Okay, so we're going for hypersonic flight. What year was this, did you say? Sorry, I was just marveling at the way this thing looks.
The 1960s.
Good Lord, okay.
Yes.
Okay, well, this is bullshit. I hear all this stuff about Russia. Russia's got hypersonic missiles all of a sudden. China's got hypersonic missiles. And everybody's like, oh, America just can't keep up. Baloney, that thing, we're doing it in the 60s.
Yes.
Just because you don't see it doesn't mean we don't have it.
Exactly.
We've got the most badass hypersonic Mach 9000 missiles that you've ever seen. I don't care if China's got X, Y, or Z. Russia's got X, Y, or Z. This dude in this photo right here he rode hypersonic shit like a fucking horse in 1965 while Russia couldn't even design anything beyond a mechanical watch that told time within a matter of 5 seconds per hour. Give me a break. I'm sick of hearing it.
All right. Kris, give us a break, please. Yes. Okay. So the aircraft was equipped with a reaction motor XLR-99 rocket engine. It produced 57,000 pounds of thrust, and the use of a rocket allowed not only immense thrust, not capable with a traditional jet engine, but also allowed it to fly higher in the atmosphere, which, of course, there's less friction, less density, so it can go faster. The X-15 was carried aloft under the wing of a B-52 bomber and released at high altitude. Once released, the rocket engines would ignite. Kris, you can play your second clip there, and we can actually see this in action, which is pretty rad.
Dang. I think this is... Oh, the Chuck Yeager's plane, they released out of the belly of the plane, didn't they? Yeah, so it's a little bit different. Gosh, look at this thing. This is in the 60s.
Literally just a rocket.
The wings are tiny. This thing doesn't need to generate lift, basically.
Oh, no, it doesn't. Yes, exactly. So on October 3rd, 1967, pilot William J. Pete Knight achieved a speed of Mach 6.72 or 4,520 miles per hour. This remains the fastest speed ever recorded by a piloted aircraft. How cool is that right there?
Oh my God, look at that photo.
Yes. Who took that photo? All right, we're going to have to fly over while we're fueling this thing up.
Everybody just chill on God, this almost seems candid, the way they're all just kind of looking at the plane.
I know.
What's the resolution on this? Can we get a print?
For real. Like, that is so cool.
Unbelievable. Again.
Oh, yeah. I used to know a lot about this plane because it was really cool. And I think I had like a little magazine or like a booklet with different planes. This had skids on the rear. It only had a front landing nose. But if you look at the rear, it didn't have rear wheels because something about it couldn't take the weight or they would blow the
There's
wheel
no room
bearings
for
out.
it. The engine was there.
Maybe that was it. It was just they didn't want to have the aerodynamic drag of it. That's probably right.
Wow. So they just had like carbide or something on these. Just
exactly.
Or graphite.
So rad.
Wow. That thing is awesome.
It's awesome. But even the speed of that, the X-15 pales
right click, set as wallpaper.
Yes.
We'll post that picture up in the Discord.
That is a great photo.
Can have it.
I know. When I saw that, I was like, oh man. All right. Even the speed of that, Kris, though, it pales in comparison to our next entry. This honor belongs to the fastest manned vehicle, or more precisely, on or within the atmosphere of Earth. Now, we need to understand the distinction here. The X-15 was actually piloted or driven. However, the Apollo 10 command module was much, much faster. While not exactly piloted, it did contain men, so it's manned. And on its return trip from the moon in 1969, it hit an incredible 24,791 miles per hour.
But again, falling.
Yes.
Just falling.
Earning it, though, the title of the fastest crewed vehicle or manned vehicle ever. To put that in perspective, that's about 32 times the speed of sound, or roughly 11 kilometers per second, fast enough to circle the globe in under an hour.
Wow.
Yeah. And since we've kind of now moved into the realm of spacecraft, we should give an honorable mention to the space shuttle. So while orbiting the Earth, NASA's space shuttle reached speeds of 17,500 miles per hour, but this is still nowhere near the speeds of re-entry achieved by the Apollo command module, thanks to, of course, gravity, which it turns out is quite the motivating force.
I want to play a clip here. I'm going to play it. Let me see. This is from our interview back in the day, and it's got the space shuttle. Are you going to go in more into the space shuttle?
Nope, that's it.
Okay. So I wanted to play this because this is I don't know if this is going to work. I'm not as good as Mr. Producer. Is there a screen window? I need tab, don't I? Okay.
You need tab.
This is
go.
Yeah, this is working.
Go tab. I promise. Okay. You know what I'm going to do right now while you're doing that?
What are you going to do?
I'm going to talk to people about Nokian Tires.
Do it while I figure this out.
Nokian Tires are, of course, the best tires made for winter driving. If you live anywhere where you'll see ice or snow or anything that is... Hold on, I just lost my place completely. But of course, you know that Nokian Tires are great. They literally invented the winter tire, and this year they're celebrating the 90th anniversary of that invention. Their flagship Hakkapeliitta tire are engineered with cutting-edge technology, honed on the world's toughest racetracks, north of the Arctic Circle in the most extreme conditions. Advanced innovations such as cutting-edge aramid sidewalls made from the same fibers used in bulletproof vests deliver extreme durability and come with a pothole protection warranty. If a road hazard damaged your tire upon repair, Nokian will replace it for free. In addition, Nokian offers a 30-day satisfaction guarantee. Drive on them for a month, and if you're not convinced, you can return your tires for a full refund. Learn more and find your set of studded or non-studded winter tires. Visit nokiantires.com/winterlegend.
The reason I want to play this clip is it has a sound bite of breaking the sonic barrier, or the sound barrier, in what is a very particularly shaped wing, and it's a very unique sound. This is Colonel Buzz Carpenter, who was a engineer, and it's such a great episode. You guys can go find this one too. I'll let you guys figure it out. Good throwback for you, Jake.
We had no control over the shock wave that came off the airplane. And if you've watched the news reports when the space shuttle was coming back, because look at the space shuttle shape. The space shuttle shape is a double delta, just like the SR-71. Because the forward body, the genius of Kelly Johnson, from the wing forward, that is a lifting body. And it produces 35% of the lift on the airplane. And so when you're cruising, your nose is about 6 degrees up. But just like the space shuttle is just like us, the way the shock comes off it, you get a boom, boom, a pretty sharp sonic boom. Now, the space shuttle, I think, because of some of its size, bigger than, more surface area than the SR, so the boom would have been a little bit stronger. But we sometimes overflew heads of state when they were reading each other. And we called it the sound of freedom, but it was basically to send a message that, you're doing things counter to U.S. policy. And there was a time, I know there was Fidel Castro, I think, was meeting Brezhnev, where basically the shock was about, I think, as I recall, 45 seconds behind us. So you time it. And I can tell you, having been a wing commander in Europe, when you're entertaining the president coming to visit the chancellor of Germany, just like anywhere else in the world, it's a very controlled ceremony. So if you get knowledge that Brezhnev is going to meet Castro at 11 o'clock typically, because they're typically as punctual as we were on ceremonies like that, you'd have an airplane sitting on the tarmac in Havana, and the door would be opening, and these two heads of state would be greeting each other. So you time it to come across a few minutes later, and I understand from the picture there's two heads of state looking up saying, don't you, what's that up there?
We're watching. I love it. That's him right there. That's Buzz Carpenter. That is
such a good interview.
That was so great. Go
Another
back and check that out.
Amazing series, Lockheed Martin and Skunk Works history.
Yeah, that's an amazing, that concept of basically breaking the sound barrier twice because of the shape of the airplane.
Yeah, there's just two shock waves. But I also loved the detail there I never noticed before until listening to it now. He goes, yeah, we knew the shock wave was about 45 seconds behind us. That's how fast they're going, that it took almost a minute for the sound to even catch up to them. That's so. Think about that, Chris.
SR-71's no joke, man.
Think about if that flew over like low altitude, and so it'd go by, and you'd wait 45 seconds is an eternity, and then you'd hear it. That's so crazy.
It's very. I think it's America's very. The old saying goes, "Speak softly, but carry a big stick."
Mm-hmm. That's
perfect. There's
That's
so much
right there.
This was the same guy, Buzz. I said, "Hey, man, he covered the black money for during the F-35 era
program.
He was in charge of the money." And I said, "Look, man, I know you can't tell me. Okay, I'm not stupid, but please, how crazy is it really? The things that we don't know." And he goes, "Chris, you have no idea."
I remember that.
So China's out there with their dick hanging out of their pants with their new plane. Did you see their new plane? They got a new plane. It's like a Delta Wing looking plane. Yeah. They're out there hanging that thing out for everybody to see. Russia's sending hypersonic missiles with no munitions in them over into Ukraine. Like, haha, look at us.
Yeah.
And we're just over here. I have to, unless maybe we're screwed. But something tells me we're not.
No.
We're just sitting there biding our time.
This is timely. Because the
Okay.
next thing on our list, this is way back in 2004, and this was recently released. NASA's X-43. So we've exited the realm of the fastest manned vehicles on our list. That's it. That's the fastest the man has ever traveled, was during the Apollo reentry.
Yep.
But that certainly isn't the fastest object man has ever created. So now we must look at the fastest unmanned vehicles. That distinction belongs to the X-43 Alpha. The X-43A was part of NASA's Hyper-X program, aimed at developing and testing air-breathing engines capable of operating at hypersonic speed, which is, of course, 5 times the speed of sound, Mach 5 or greater. And unlike conventional rockets, which carry their own oxygen, the X-43A used a scramjet engine, short for supersonic combustion ramjet. And here's why scramjets are so revolutionary. They compress the incoming air at supersonic speeds to mix with the fuel and ignite, eliminating the need to carry oxygen. So even though the air is so thin, and usually you don't have enough oxygen, by just compressing it that much ahead of the intake, you're able to have enough to combust. It's highly
you can pull that image down,
efficient,
Mr. Producer.
and has enormous implications for space travel and high-speed flight. And with a wingspan of just 5 feet and measuring 12 feet in length, the X-43A was a compact, lightweight vehicle designed to achieve incredible speeds while remaining aerodynamically stable. The X-43 set a record on November 16th, 2004. This is over 20 years ago, Chris, during its third and final test flight. Launched from under the wing of a B-52 at an altitude of 40,000 feet, it was propelled to even greater heights by a Pegasus rocket booster, before then engaging the scramjet. During its historic flight, the X-43A reached a speed of Mach 9.6, over 7,000 miles per hour. To put that in perspective, it's nearly 10 times the speed of sound and fast enough to travel from New York to LA in under 30 minutes.
Sign me up. I hate flying across the country.
So to your point where they're like, ooh, we have hypersonic now. Over 20 years ago,
we were already there.
We
were already there. Yeah. Back when the Berlin Wall fell and they were all putting their Russian thumbs in their butts, we were doing this. You know,
it's amazing. All right.
This is what we showed in 2004. What I'm saying is we were probably doing this 10 years earlier already.
This I don't think was actually released until maybe 10 years ago or something. Like they did keep this under wraps too. But yeah, the things now that they're building upon on that, you can only speculate.
Only imagine.
All right. So now we're kind of venturing into the realm of pure unbridled speed. The 5th entry in our list is...
I like things that are unbridled, Jake.
Unbridled. This is the Parker Solar Probe, a spacecraft launched in 2018 to study the sun. As it approaches the sun, it hit a speed of 394,736 miles per hour. At that speed, you could travel from New York to LA in 20 seconds. It's almost incomprehensible to imagine, but the Parker Solar Probe isn't just fast, it's actually like the marvel of engineering that went into this was crazy. It's designed to survive getting close to the sun in these extreme conditions, being able to actually study it. So that is maybe, almost, potentially the fastest object ever created by man.
Have you heard the sound waves that thing recorded at the sun?
No.
Here, let me see. I'll share this.
You look that up while I tell people about Onyx Off-Road.
I've already got it. Just let me do this first. Yeah, let me do this first. Seeking, playing, maybe. Come on, play.
Disperse of chirping waves?
Yeah, this is like the sounds that came.
That's
all right. Well, you do Onyx while my internet loads, apparently.
So if you're looking for the best app for navigating your next adventure, look no further than Onyx Off-Road. It will render better than that video that Chris has, and it has over 750,000 miles of trails and comprehensive offline maps. You can explore without worrying about cell service, too. The app features trail ratings, detailed information, and a Discover tool to help you find trails near you. Onyx Off-Road also includes public and private land boundaries, so you'll always know where you can legally off-road and camp. Plan trips with ease using the Route Builder and share your adventure with friends. With features like route tracking, waypoint marking, and real-time updates, you're equipped for any challenge. Start your next adventure with confidence. Try Onyx Off-Road free for 7 days. Download today and start exploring. All right, I want to hear our sun chirping at us.
No, I found the actual clip I was looking for.
Okay.
All right.
That's creepy.
Yeah, dude. You know what it sounds like? Yeah, no. Jake says no. You know what it sounds like?
What?
It sounds like an electric car.
It does actually. Oh my god,
it sounds like an electric car driving by. Okay, anyway.
It does. Okay.
That probe was really dope. It did an interesting.
That's cool. Okay.
Gave us some interesting visuals.
Now, I'm gonna give our audience a little peek behind the curtain here, Chris. Just because I'm so excited for this next entry.
All right.
As I told you before, this next entry is actually what I was going to do the entire episode on, but I thought it'd be much more fun to just do a list of this. So
yeah, it's been great.
Potentially, the space probe isn't even the fastest object ever recorded. Are you ready? This is the fastest thing man has ever made, and it is, drum roll please. Actual drum roll, maybe? I don't care.
Oh, drum roll? Sure.
There we go. Yeah.
I did not know we had a drum roll.
The fastest object ever recorded is a manhole cover. Yes.
What?
Yes. Really.
Did Captain America throw it?
Let me explain. No,
Okay.
even better.
Okay.
Enter Operation Plumbob. Operation Plumbob was a massive series of nuclear tests conducted by the United States in 1957. It included 29 explosions, involved over 21 laboratories and agencies. Most of these tests were designed to develop warheads for missiles, but they also explored air defense, anti-submarine warfare, and the structural effects of nuclear blasts on buildings and vehicles. A lot of those old film clips you see of like the blast wave coming and knocking down fake buildings and stuff, that's all from these Plumbob operations and tests. The operation also saw the largest troop maneuver ever associated with nuclear testing, with approximately 18,000 members of the U.S. military participating in exercises.
Look at these guys just sitting there watching the thing go off.
Oh,
like they're
just wait, Chris.
Sitting on bleachers. Just
Yep.
hey, what do you think, Bob? Oh, man, that's pretty good. Can't wait to go home to Dorothy's apple pie right after I get irradiated.
Well, yeah, and so you missed the point there. They had 18,000 U.S. service members participating in these because they wanted to study how soldiers could handle the conditions of a nuclear battlefield, right?
Yeah,
like,
pretty good until they have to go back out to war 15 years later. But hey, if you can carry 3 guns at the same time, it's probably maybe it's even.
Oh yeah, there you go, because you have an extra arm. The 1,200 pigs that were used were not so lucky. They were used in biomedical experiments placed in various scenarios, quote, to study the effects of thermal radiation and flying debris.
Jake, do you like bacon, smoked bacon, or irradiated nuclear bacon?
1,200 pigs. Can you imagine they just like let them go in the desert and just 3, 2, 1.
Oink.
Okay. A side note here: while some survived,
Instant
they
bacon.
often suffered severe burns, providing grim insights into the destructive power of these weapons, and were later euthanized. Yeah, no think.
I hope so. Jeez.
All right. So Operation Plumbob also marked several milestones. On July 19th, 1957, the only test ever completed of an air-to-air nuclear rocket was conducted. The purpose of the weapon, known as Genie, was to counter a potential nuclear-armed Soviet Union bomber from coming into the area. The test was concerned with whether or not the rocket could be effectively aimed at and hit a bomber without a guidance system. So what do? You literally just shoot a nuke anywhere near the bomber. That'll take care of it.
That's
right?
all done. Yeah, all done.
Exactly. The test, known as the John shot of the Operation Plumbob test series, was especially interesting. I don't know.
There's got to be a John.
I don't know who John was, but that was the John shot.
There's got to be a John.
Yep,
I'm looking to see if there's a John, but there's probably not.
Well, you're going to have to play this clip after I tell you this last part. Listen to me, Chris. The especially interesting part of the John shot test was a group of 5 U.S. Air Force officers who decided to just stand around directly under the blast at ground zero as this went off 18,000 feet above them. So the men, identified as Colonel Sidney Bruce, Lieutenant Colin Frank Ball, Major Norman Bodie Bodinger, and Major John Hughes, as well as Don Luttrell, weren't required to be involved in or even attend the test. They all showed up voluntarily. Although it's not clear what the purpose was, the theory was put forward that it was intended to help alleviate any concerns about nuclear fallout from nuclear air-to-air missiles. What is clear, though, is how the John shot went down thanks to U.S. government footage shot by a man named George Yoshitake. Kris, please play the third clip shot by one Yoshitake showing these guys. 2-kiloton missile.
Jesus. What was the missile called? The Genie?
The Genie.
H-1.
Did you see the sign?
Oh.
The airplane is
I'll
up
go back. Okay.
over our shoulders. It is a bright silver spot in the sky. Sing it out, I'm going to look away and then I'll find it again.
They don't even have the glasses on.
No, that's what I said.
30
seconds.
I got him. John sees it. 25 seconds. Look away and then look back and you'll see it easy. 20 seconds. 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2. There it goes. The rocket is gone.
Ground zero, population 5.
We felt a heat pulse, a very bright light, a fireball. It is red. The sky looks black about it. It is boiling above us there. It is rapidly losing its color. There is the ground wave. It is over, folks. It happened. The mounds are vibrating. It is tremendous. Directly above our heads. It went. It went. Boy, I'd hate to be there. Good. And there's a huge fireball. The mounds are still echoing through here. Worse than that, a perfect shot.
My only regrets right now are, this Colonel Bruce, that everybody couldn't have been out here at Ground Zero with us. Okay, Bodie.
We can still see it's a very odd cloud. It is white in the center, and there's a bright orange ring towards the outside of it. Then below it, there's like a hazy cloud. I don't know, Colonel Bruce, I've never quite seen a cloud like this from atomic detonation. Have you?
No, I haven't, Bodie. There seems to be quite a halo
like a jellyfish
connected with it, and there's quite a bit of mist up there. I'm not, this is new to me.
Maybe from seeing it from Ground Zero, we're missing a mushroom, but there doesn't seem to be any evidence of a mushroom type of stem that we have associated with other detonations. Folks, it was just a wonderful thrill to see that interceptor come in, that rocket go at the 0 count. This thing went off with a white flash. It was just beautiful.
Dude, these guys, did you hear the guy who couldn't even talk? It's like his mouth became full of ice cubes as he was talking. Like, it was
he was probably scared out of his mind. Like, they're like, oh, we're going to go prove that it's fine. But, like, when that light goes and the shock comes, like...
It's not fine.
Yeah, you don't know.
Decidedly unfine is what we would call that.
So, while that's certainly fascinating, that's not even what I'm getting at and what we're going to talk about. So, as part of the Operation Plumbob test, in 1956, Robert Brown Lee from Los Alamos National Laboratory in New Mexico was asked to examine whether nuclear detonations could be conducted underground. And we do have our next video, Operation Plumbob, there that you can play.
1957, Operation Plumbob, the sixth in a series of continental tests conducted by the Atomic Energy Commission to further our weapons development program.
Good Lord.
In terms of numbers of test devices detonated, this was the largest series ever attempted in Nevada.
The first subterranean
it's
test.
just it's speechless when you see that kind of energy released.
Yeah, I cannot imagine. So the first subterranean test was the nuclear device known as Pascal A, which was lowered down a 500-foot borehole. However, the detonation yield turned out to be 50,000 times greater than anticipated, creating a jet of fire that shot hundreds of meters into the sky. Oops. Not really contained underground then. So
the energy has to go out somewhere.
So for the next test, because the whole point was, can we detonate these underground and study it? And is it contained underground? Well, it certainly wasn't. So for the next test, Pascal B, a 2,000-pound iron lid was welded over the borehole on top of 2 feet of poured concrete to, quote, contain the nuclear blast.
Were the welds done by me or by you? Because that's going to be a big difference here.
They won't matter, Chris. I'm just going to tell you that. Despite Brownlee predicting that this would have no effect on containing the blast. You think? So on the morning of August 1957, the nuclear bomb was detonated 152 meters below ground. The blast wave, traveling straight up the test shaft, instantly vaporized the concrete and severed the welds on the cap. The resulting force launched the 4-inch thick steel cover directly up into the atmosphere faster than any man-made object has ever traveled. The plate was never found. However,
it's somewhere.
No, it's
not. Or it's just went into space and never came back.
Listen to this. A high-speed camera, which took 1 frame per millisecond, was focused on the borehole. After the detonation, the plate appeared in only 1 frame. Regarding its speed, Brownlee reckoned that, quote, a lower limit could be calculated by considering the time between frames.
Do we have a picture of that frame? Do we have a photo of that?
I couldn't find the actual frame.
Ah, dang, okay.
So when asked how fast it was going before he could do the calculations, he joked the best estimate was it was, quote, going like a bat out of hell. Later calculations determined that the plate reached speeds 6 times greater than those required to achieve escape velocity from Earth's atmosphere. Some believe it therefore became the first man-made item to ever reach space. Others believe it was vaporized by the intense pressures traveling through the atmosphere at this speed, because it was going 7 times faster than it even needed to escape the Earth. Realistically, we'll never know. What we do know is that this steel plate reached a minimum theoretical speed of 150,000 miles per hour.
Here's what I want to know. I want to know what direction the Earth was pointing.
Where can we look for it?
Because for the first time in human history, the entire Earth became a cannon.
Yeah.
The Earth was a cannon.
Yes.
We launched.
Chris.
Where did it go?
Chris, the fastest man-made object ever is a steel plate under a nuclear blast. Or over a nuclear blast.
It probably did disintegrate in the atmosphere, I'm sure.
So I didn't get into it because when you type in Pascal B Plumbob test, there's Reddit threads where these guys doing their doctorate dissertation in physics go into these really advanced calculations and everything, and are talking about the probability of it surviving and what speed it actually could have achieved, and the people go way in deep on this theory. And so the conclusion was it probably did completely melt shortly after reaching the atmosphere or going up, but for a short time there the thing was moving.
Absolutely,
it was moving, Chris.
So this is like a nuclear rail gun, essentially.
Yeah.
Essentially, yeah.
I know. Yeah. I love too that they didn't even mean to, but they basically created a wadding before the projectile. In a shotgun shell, you have the propulsion or the propellant, which is the powder, and then you have a wadding between the actual shot shell. Well, that's what 2 feet of concrete basically acts as behind a nuclear blast. So they basically made a perfect shotgun projectile. Thing. Yes.
Did you do you know how a railgun works? Did you look up railguns at all?
Yeah, railguns are pretty wild, but it's nowhere
just a
near
chunk of
these.
Not that. It's like a chunk of tungsten.
Yeah.
Usually 20 pounds
and
of tungsten.
It's just accelerate them.
It's only 3 inches around. It's just it's like this. It's a 25-pound chunk of tungsten that they use magnetics to launch, and that thing goes around 5,000 miles per hour.
Yeah.
Mach 6, Mach 7.
That's wild.
I feel like that would be an excellent thing to put in satellites. If you could shoot
Well, no. Okay, hold on. This is a whole separate topic that I have on my list of to-dos, and it's a concept. It was Operation Rods from God. This was a thing, and it's very similar to what you're talking about, but they didn't need a railgun. If you have a large enough projectile, you just let it fall. And they were these giant like rods that they would get up in satellites and be able to basically point where they want them to fall, and you just drop them. How crazy is that? Manhole cover launched via nuclear blast.
Indeed. What else have we got?
I'm gonna take a minute to talk about Petrobox, which is a service made specifically for the automotive enthusiasts. Each month, they care for select items, including tools, detailing supplies, apparel, garage gear, stickers, publications to be sent right to your doorstep. It's a curated selection of the latest and greatest gear in the industry, and there's actually 2 different levels of subscription to choose from. The Petrobox Basic costs less than $20 a month, while the Petrobox Premium gets you even more gear for $39.95 a month. Check them out at mypetrolbox.com, and be sure to use the code OVERCREST at checkout to get $6 off your first month.
All right.
I do have an honorable mention.
Okay, what's your honorable mention? And then I'm trying to say, what are we at here? We're about an hour. I think we could do my 3 slow things, and then still do we'll do a bonus for the Drivers Club members.
I love it. I thought that was going to be the bonus, the 3 slowest.
Nah, I think it's too fun.
Okay.
You know,
so here's my honorable mention. We'd be remiss in talking about the fastest things ever without mentioning particle accelerators, right? So one of the most well-known accelerators is the Large Hadron Collider, or LHC, located near Geneva, Switzerland. This massive machine spans 17-mile-long circular tunnel and smashes protons together at mind-boggling speeds. And just to give you an idea of the scale, the LHC's tunnel is so large, it actually crosses the border between Switzerland and France, and its magnets are cooled to temperatures colder than that of outer space to maintain its precision. And in experiments where protons are accelerated, they reach 99.999999% the speed of light, which is roughly, we gotta do the transformation here, 670 million miles per hour, which is not only the fastest thing ever, albeit not exactly man-made, it literally is as fast as something can theoretically go.
Yeah, there's the FCC. That's what I was just going to say. The FCC is what's going to replace the LHC.
I didn't know that.
The Future Circular Collider is going to be seven times more powerful.
Wow.
Seven times more powerful. It's 100 tera electron volts, which I don't even know what that is. That
seems like a lot. That's probably a lot.
Yeah, that's a lot. The magnetic field strength required for this depends on the size of the collider and the energy of the particles. For the FCC, which has 100-kilometer circumference, magnetic fields and its bending magnets need to be approximately 16 Teslas strong to steer particles along their curved path. This is a significant increase over the 8.3 magnets. This is way too.
That's nerdy.
This just makes me sound dumb because I don't know what I'm talking about.
I have one more video, that last video I sent you. Let's just go back and focus on the coolest thing ever, which is that manhole cover launching into space via a nuclear blast.
While we look at this, why don't you tell us a little bit about the Drivers Club?
Drivers Club is as cool as a nuclear blast, Chris. For as little as $5 a month, you too can become a member of the Overcrest Drivers Club. You have exclusive content. There are many of these episodes. Oh, did you see that blast hit that guy? He didn't even flinch.
No, he's done this before. It's not his first nuclear rodeo.
Apparently not. We have exclusive content. We have a complete section of the Discord, which is for Drivers Club members only, which is
that's where I have a little more like discussions that are on a more serious level. I do talk a lot on the Drivers Club only area, which has a little bit more deep discussions than the normal Discord area.
Look at that shockwave propagate. Oh, they could shut it off. I want to see the shockwave come hit you.
This doesn't even look real.
That's so nuts.
Have you seen the video of the bomb that blew up in Lebanon or whatever it was? Or not the bomb, the factory? The shockwave.
It's so nuts.
That's pretty wild. All right. Do you want to hear about some slow things? I'm going to give you 3, and then I got the bonus.
Let's do it. I love it.
All right. Admittedly, this is not quite as good as what you put together, but I did my best.
Well, I'll take that as a compliment. Thank you.
Jake.
Yes.
It's good to go fast.
It's
But
good to go
sometimes
fast. Yeah.
slow is all you need.
Really?
Yes. So I've got 3 things that are very slow
Okay.
that humans have. I guess I can't even say pilot ridden, whatever, because there's so much variety here. First one is a machine. Number 3,
Yes.
a machine so slow and quiet that its best weapon wasn't speed, but patience.
Okay.
These things weren't built to win races. They were built to lurk. The Unterseeboot, or undersea boat, became one of the most terrifying symbols of the 20th century, proving that slow and steady can really win the deadliest of games. Of course, I'm talking about the German U-boat.
U-boat.
Let's set the stage. It's the early 1900s. The world's oceans are highways of trade, and navies are flexing their battleships like muscle cars at a drag race. But Germany, ever the overachiever, decides to look beneath the waves. Why fight fair when you can just sink the competition when they can't even see you coming?
Yep.
That's
That was a good movie. U-571.
It is one
I
of
should
the
go
best.
back and watch that.
It is one of the best sounding movies ever.
Oh,
It
really?
sounds incredible because it's in like DTS ES. It's such. I'd love to get a remastered 4K Blu-ray version of this movie. It's honestly really
I haven't seen that in a long time. That was a good movie.
Look how young Matthew McConaughey
I
looks
know.
right there.
All right.
I was hoping that wouldn't be so obvious, and you wouldn't notice that was him.
No, that's definitely
Submarines, however, are not a German invention. Do you know the first war submarine, Jake?
Probably British Navy.
The first practical submarine was David Bushnell's Turtle. It was American and saw action in the Revolutionary War.
What?
And by action, I mean it tried to blow up a British ship and failed miserably.
Oh, that's
so basically what he did is they wanted to like take this little turtle submarine over to the British ship and like stick a bomb on it, and then the thing was hand crank, the screw on the front. You would just go like this, and it would like steer you away. But they couldn't get the bomb to stick because the ship had copper cladding on it.
Oh,
so they couldn't get the bomb to stick. Germany took the idea and ran with it, or more accurately, paddled very slowly. The first U-boat, the U-1, depicted here, was launched in 1906, and it was not much to look at, more like a steel cigar with a periscope, but it worked. Powered by a diesel engine on the surface and electric motors underwater, it could travel 2,000 miles before needing to refuel, which is not bad for a glorified tin can.
Yeah.
When World War I broke out, the German Navy used to turn to its U-boats to counter Britain's naval dominance. These subs were not fast. 15 knots on the surface, which is about 17 miles per hour, and a pokey 7 miles per hour, 6 knots underwater. But that didn't matter. They didn't need to chase anything. They just needed to wait.
That's actually quicker than I would have thought underwater.
7 miles per hour?
That's like
pretty
a fast
slow, man.
run.
It's pretty slow, dude. That is pretty slow, especially if you're underwater and you're running away from destroyers that are doing 15 to 20 knots.
Yeah, but like you said, you don't need to. You just dive.
That's right. And they waited in style. Early U-boats were armed with torpedoes, which packed enough punch to sink a ship in one hit. They'd surface, fire a few warning shots to give the crew time to abandon ship.
Really?
Chivalry was not yet dead. And then send the vessel to the bottom of the ocean. During World War I, German U-boats initially adhered to this prize rule, or cruiser rule, which required submarines to surface, issue those warning shots, and allow crews to abandon ship before sinking merchant vessels. It was known as prize law or cruiser warfare, and had governed naval engagements for centuries. I'd never heard of this before.
No, that's cool.
But as the war dragged on, that gentleman's warfare went out the window. By 1915, U-boats were sinking ships on sight, including civilian vessels.
Yeah.
The sinking of the Lusitania, a British, very, very famous ship sinking, which is one of the things that encouraged the United States to go into the war. It wasn't all Pearl Harbor. Just what was going on in Europe. Well, this is 1915.
Yeah.
Pearl Harbor was just fine in 1915.
Oh, I see.
Sinking of the Lusitania, a British passenger liner, killed nearly 1,200 people and helped drag the United States into the war.
Yeah.
During World War II, more precisely September 12th, 1942, the German submarine U-156, commanded by Korvetkapitan Werner Hartenstein, torpedoed the. That honestly sounds kind of. Isn't that sound a little Jewish to you? Hartenstein?
Yeah, it does actually.
Sounds a little Jewish there. Torpedoed the British troop ship RMS Laconia off the West African coast. Unbeknownst to Hartenstein, the ship was carrying not only Allied soldiers, but also civilians and Italian prisoners of war. And I saw some other photos of this thing that they actually did have gun emplacements on this merchant vessel. Upon realizing the humanitarian crisis unfolding before him, Hartenstein made a decision that defied the norms of warfare. He surfaced U-156 and began rescue operations, broadcasting a message in clear English over the waves. If any ship will assist shipwrecked Laconia crew, I will not attack her, provided I am not attacked by ship or air force.
No kidding.
For several days, U-156, along with other German and Italian submarines, joined the effort, rescued the survivors, and towed lifeboats and providing what limited care they could. The submarines even displayed makeshift Red Cross flags in an attempt to signal their humanitarian intent. Tragically, the situation took a dire turn when an American B-24 bomber, unaware of the rescue operations, attacked U-156, forcing Hartenstein to abandon their survivors and submerge to evade further assaults. This incident led the German Navy's issuance of the Laconia Order, instructing U-boat commanders to cease all rescue efforts, a directive that underscored the harsh realities of total war. On the surface, these U-boats ran diesel engines. The Type 7 U-boat, the workhorse of Germany's fleet during World War II, packed two MAN M6V 4046 six-cylinder diesel engines, two of them. These things had a bore of 400 millimeters and a stroke of 460 millimeters. To be clear, the bore on my 911 is 90.
Yep. Yeah,
90,
that's a big cylinder.
It's a big boy. This configuration.
I'll also like to point out that MAN is the same trucks that ran in like the Dakar.
Oh yeah,
like they're still around.
They're still around.
Yep.
Still around. Can't blame them for making the engines. It's just the way it is. This configuration results in a displacement of approximately 57.8 liters per cylinder.
Wait, 57 liters per cylinder?
Totaling about 346 liters per engine.
Wow.
Each engine cranked out at 1,400 horsepower, giving the boat a top speed surface of 15 knots, about 17 miles per hour. Still faster, though, than your skid steer.
Oh, yeah. No, that's not fast.
These diesel engines powered the U-boat's surface travel and recharged its batteries for underwater operation. But here's the catch. These engines needed air, which meant that the boat had to stay at the surface or just below using a snorkel. And that's where things got risky, because a U-boat poking its periscope or snorkel above the water was basically saying, hey, Allied bombers over here. Hello. They're smoking diesel smoke.
I suppose. I didn't think about the smoke.
Once submerged, the U-boat switched to electric motors powered by a bank of lead-acid batteries. Wow. Can you imagine being the guy that has to go in that space and check the batteries and do things? The entire concept of being on a submarine in these cramped...
it's so terrible.
Gives me just extreme anxiety.
Thank you.
Each of these motors produced about 375 horsepower, a fraction of what the diesel engines could muster. As a result, the U-boat's underwater speed was 7 to 8 miles per hour tops. These motors had two main battery banks, each with 62 cells, giving it a total storage of around 11,000 amp hours, which sounds impressive, but if we convert that into modern terms, we're looking at roughly 200 kilowatt hours. Let me give you some context here, okay?
Okay, yes, please.
I didn't know what that meant either. For context, the battery in a Tesla Model S has about 100 kilowatt hours, meaning a U-boat had the equivalent of 2 Teslas worth of stored energy. While a Tesla can cruise over 300 miles on that energy, a submerged U-boat could only creep around for about 80 nautical miles at 4 knots before draining its battery completely.
Interesting.
Being slow had its drawbacks. Pretty soon, the Allied forces caught on, developing better sonar, faster destroyers, and air patrols that could spot periscopes from miles away.
How?
It's just the little periscope with the smoke coming out. I'm guessing they probably tried to do most of this at night, but you got to do what you got to do and keep your fingers crossed, right? Jake, I want you to imagine for a moment You're a horker on a U-boat.
I am.
Horker
Okay.
is a listener. Okay, this is the guy with the headphones on.
Okay.
Listening. The horker on a U-boat deep in the Atlantic, creeping along at just 6 miles per hour. The air is heavy with diesel and sweat. The hum of the electric motors, the only sound as you drift slowly through the black water. It's been many hours since you were submerged. Tense, silent hours. And then you hear it. It's faint and unmistakable. Immediately, you straighten up in your seat. Your eyes are wide and sweat is dripping down your brow. Your perfect hair is slumped to the side, sticking to your face. You press the headphones tighter against your ears, turning towards a control room bathed in red light. You whisper quietly, your voice cracking with anxiety.
Scheisse.
Yeah, probably. I was going to say, spritzer. Splashes.
Oh.
Depth charges.
Yep.
The Capitan snaps an order. Engines off. Silence falls. The boat coasts to a stop, just drifting in the deep. The hum of the motor fades, leaving only the groan of the hull under pressure. You grip the railing, straining to hear anything. Above you, the destroyer propellers churn the water, the rhythmic sound of their sonar ping echoing through the sub. First explosion is far off, just a dull thud, and you feel the tremor rip through the steel shell, rattling loose tools, and you hear someone exhaling sharply. The next one is closer. The shockwave slams into the hull, shuddering the boat. Pipes groan, gauges quiver, and the overhead lights flicker. A few men start muttering prayers under their breath. It's closer now. The Capitan whispers, "Tiefer Dive deeper.
Mm-hmm.
The engineer nods and moves to the controls, but the motors turn so slowly it feels like you're sinking by gravity alone. At this speed, it's impossible to outrun them. All you can do is hope. The next charge explodes directly above you. The entire boat jolts violently, the deck pitching beneath your feet. A pipe bursts near the aft section, spraying water across the already slick floor. The lead engineer shouts to seal the bulkhead. No one dares move faster than a shuffle. Running would do no good. You glance around. Some of the crew are wide-eyed, staring at the walls like they expect them to cave in. Others close their eyes, heads bowed. You, the horker, stay fixed at your post, listening and waiting. And then it happens one more time. Closer, louder, more splashes above, and the waiting continues. You hold your breath, the tension unbearable, your heart pounding in your ears. There's no way out. You're not escaping. You're just too slow.
Ugh.
Jake, the odds for U-boats crews were downright grim. 75% of them never made it back.
Oh, are you
That's
kidding?
the highest casualty rate of any branch of the German military in war. Think about it. Every time a U-boat slipped beneath the waves, 3 out of 4 of those sailors were not coming home.
Wow.
It wasn't just a mission. It was a death sentence. And yet they kept going. If that doesn't put the stakes into perspective, nothing will. Let this be a reminder that sometimes the scariest things are not fast. It's what you don't see coming or what you don't see coming for you at 6 to 7 miles per hour.
That is terrifying.
I can't imagine. I cannot imagine the any of these dudes that are in submarines or other mines. We got to get a guy who works in a submarine on the podcast. That would be fun. Okay, number 2.
Okay.
I want to go back to 1783.
Wow.
In France, where 2 brothers, Joseph Michel and Jacques Ancien Montgolfier,
were they joined?
Decided,
they look like they're conjoined and have 2 heads.
I don't think so. These guys, they decided that the air was the future. See, these guys were paper manufacturers of all things, but they figured out also that hot air rises.
It does.
And what better to test this theory than by floating stuff into the sky?
Love it.
The first passengers, a sheep, a duck, and a rooster. They tied these animals to a wicker basket beneath a giant fabric balloon, lit a fire, and let it rip. The flight
Old
lasted about 8
MacDonald
minutes.
had a balloon. Yeah, and on that balloon there was a sheep.
The animals survived, proving
they
that
did?
flying
Okay.
wasn't just for birds,
Okay,
though the
good.
rooster probably had some questions about that.
Yeah.
A few months later, is a rooster a bird? It's a bird. Yeah, it's a bird. A few months later, they
Of
decided to step
avian
it up.
descent, yes.
Yeah. Well, they clipped their wings. A few months later, they decided to step it up. Enter Jean-François Pelletier de Rosière and François Laurent de Arlandes, the first humans to take the sky
I've
in a
seen this
hot
photo
air balloon.
or illustration.
Picture it. Two
Yeah.
dudes in fancy 18th century wigs standing in a woven basket, holding onto ropes for dear life as a fire below them burns and heats up the air. So they basically would heat up the air and then it would float away and then they would come down. They didn't have there was a bunch of different ways that they had baskets where they would put stuff in, but they didn't have in this first instances like a bunch of gas or anything.
Heating,
No.
yeah.
It was very, very, very simple. The flight lasted about 25 minutes and covered 5 miles. Not exactly breaking any land speed records. But at the time, Jake, this was revolutionary. They floated over Paris, waved at confused onlookers, and proved that humans could conquer. I can't. You're just like eating your baguette, minding your own business, and this giant blob floats across the sky slowly. And of course, this is France, and it was done in style.
Sacre bleu.
Oh, it's just a balloon. They decided afterwards to step things up. Rosière's idea was bold, and in hindsight, reckless. He designed a hybrid balloon, combining a hot air balloon powered by fire, like his earlier flights, with a hydrogen gas balloon. The logic?
I see a problem. I see a problem, Chris.
The
I
logic?
immediately see a problem.
The gas would keep the balloon aloft while the hot air could be adjusted to control altitude. Brilliant. A feat of engineering. But in practice, what is it?
Bomb.
It is a bomb. A floating bomb. Hydrogen, as many modern chemists will tell you, is extremely flammable. Combine that with an open flame from the hot air component, and you've got a recipe for disaster. But Rosière was undeterred. This was about glory and claiming the skies. And let's be honest, probably about showing up the competition. Because there was a guy in America that was doing this as well. On June 15th, 1785, Rosière and his companion Pierre Romain launched from the Bouillonnais-sur-Mer in their hybrid balloon. The sky was clear and the wind seemed favorable. Crowds gathered to witness the historic moment, cheering as the balloon rose gracefully into the air. You can pull that down, Mr. Producer.
Oh, the humanity is what's
But just 30 minutes into the flight, disaster struck. The cause is debated, but most historians agree that the hydrogen in the balloon ignited, likely from a spark or an ember from the hot burner below.
Mm-hmm.
Witnesses on the ground describe seeing the balloon suddenly erupt into flames, then collapse midair. Rosière and Romain fell nearly 3,000 feet to their death.
No more.
They were no more. The wreckage of the balloon landed in a field along with their lifeless bodies. Rosière's pioneering spirit had made him a hero, but his daring had also made him the first recorded fatality in aviation history.
Ooh.
We have since Overcrest has procured a letter. We have procured a letter, which is previously unknown.
I thought you were going to say we procured a lighter than air craft.
No, we have not, unless you consider the following segment full of hot air.
Hey-o.
These are the final words of Jean-François Pelletier de Rosière.
Can't wait.
The fire has betrayed us. The air, so gentle when we ascended, has turned cruel, and I can see the end rushing toward me with terrible certainty. To those who read this, know that I write not in despair, but in the clarity of these last moments. Pierre is silent now, though his grip on my arm is steadfast. There is no panic, only the shared acknowledgement that we have reached the edge of what man can achieve. The balloon burns above us, a roaring inferno against the blue sky. And yet I am calm. I knew this risk, embraced it even. What is a life, if not given to the pursuit of...
I guess that's all he was able to write before he hit the ground, Jake.
I mean, that's pretty good that he got all that in.
He did. He did get all that as I'm glad
and it's
that we
amazing
can
that
find
you somehow recorded it too. That's really
exactly. It is amazing. I didn't know tape recorders existed in 1785, but alas. All right, I have one more, Jake.
Okay, let's do
one more. And then we'll do the Overcrest bonus. Gosh, this is fun. I love doing this stuff with you, man. It's such a good time. Thank you. Number 1, it is slow. It's boring. And it is the most effective thing humanity has ever done. Ever.
Okay.
The number 1 thing humanity has ever done. Walking. Jake can gush all day about rockets.
It's
slow. Slow for me, fast
boring.
for you. It's only boring when it's fast. Jake can gush all day about rockets and jet engines breaking the soundbar, but let's be real. You can't build a rocket without walking to the launch pad first. We've been walking since forever, Jake. 4 million years ago, some ape ancestor stood up, looked around, looked down, and saw his bloody knuckles and had enough. That was it. That moment, walking, was the beginning of everything. It's how we hunted, gathered, explored, and survived. It's not fast, but it worked.
Walking was faster than being a quadped, though.
Maybe. Walking might not sound like a big deal, Jake, but imagine this. You're a caveman. There are no roads, no maps, no sneakers, and yet somehow you and your buddies decide to walk out of Africa. You don't even know where you're going. Over the next 70,000 years, humans shuffled their way into Europe, Asia, and Siberia, and eventually across a frozen land bridge into Alaska. That's 12,000 miles. On foot. No cars, no rest stops, just you, some animal skins, and a vague hope that there's something better over the next hill. Then, because humans are nothing if not stubborn, they kept going. These first settlers spread all the way to South America. That's like walking the length of the Pan American Highway without a highway. Let's be honest. If this were us today, we'd probably make it about 5 miles before we started whining about blisters and cell phone service. Walking is not just for exploration. It's how wars were fought. Forget your tanks and your planes and your rocket ships and your bombs. For most of history, battles were won by dudes walking to the fight. Take the Roman army, for example. These guys were the original long-haul truckers. Except instead of trucks, they just had sandals. Probably a lot like the ones you're wearing right now. They marched 20 miles a day carrying 50 pounds of gear. They literally walked their way to empire, conquering everything at a speed your grandma could match. While they were at it, they built roads. Roads they didn't even need yet, Jake, just to make their walking a little bit less miserable. That's how much walking mattered. Then there's poor Napoleon. His army walked across Europe, winning battles at 3 miles an hour. But then they walked into Russia in winter, which did not end well.
No.
Thousands froze, starved, or just collapsed from exhaustion. Turns out even Napoleon couldn't outwalk bad planning. Fast forward to World War II. The Allies retreating through the Burma jungle. Those guys walked over 1,000 miles to survive. Wow. This was not a scenic hike. It was brutal, wet, and miserable. But walking was the only way out. It was slow, but it worked. In 1969, humanity took walking to a place that it had never been before. It was slow, awkward, and completely mesmerizing. A moment that proves sometimes the slowest steps are the most important. When Neil Armstrong descended the ladder of the Eagle lunar module, he didn't jump or sprint or stride. He stepped. That first cautious movement was deliberate, partly because of the bulky spacesuit, but mostly because he was standing on another world. Cool. The sound got deleted from this. This is one small step for man, one giant leap for mankind. There you go. I got it.
We got
no
it.
problem. Thank you. Yeah, sound
effects
died
too.
on that one.
Yep.
Then, after that, he shuffled onto the lunar surface, moving at what can only be described as the opposite of Jake's pace when he spots an oatmeal cream pie. Are you still eating cream pies, Jake?
I mean, I still have like a stock of them, so I got to work through the stock.
You don't, though. You could just throw them away. You don't have to eat them.
Oh gosh, no, they're delicious.
Walking on the moon isn't like walking on Earth. The moon's gravity is just 16.5% of Earth's, making each step more like a bounce. Astronauts quickly figured out that hopping was more efficient, but even that was slow. At best, 2 miles per hour. Slower than Jake's average stroll to the fridge.
Can you imagine that first time walking on the moon, though? And like, we got to figure out how to walk.
I'm sure it felt very strange. They didn't. I guess did they even know that gravity was lower? They probably knew it was somewhat lower.
Yeah, and I'm sure
just based on mass.
They did like the pool training stuff, right? But still, for the first time, being like, because then there's no resistance to the water. It's just
the 80-pound suit only weighed 13 pounds.
Perfect.
So they had just like bouncing all over the place.
Love it.
After all this, walking across continents, drifting over the horizon in hot air balloons, sneaking through the deep in U-boats, and even bouncing across the moon, why is it that the simple act of a baby taking their first steps brings us to tears, Jake? Because walking is humanity's original triumph. It's the first thing that sets us apart. The moment we go from crawling to standing tall. It's slow, wobbly, and uncertain, but it is monumental. When a baby takes those first steps, it's like watching millions of years of evolution play out in a living room. It's determination made real. It is the first leap towards independence, the start of every journey, every adventure, and every discovery we have ever done. Walking is where it all begins. It is not fast, it's not glamorous, but it's the foundation for it all. And maybe that's why it still amazes us. It reminds us that even the grandest journeys, the boldest risks, and the most daring escapes all began the same way, by putting one unstoppable foot in front of the other at 3 miles per hour. Nice and slow.
I love it.
Those are my top 3 slow human things. And I've got a bonus for you guys. If you're a Drivers Club member, you can hang out. Got one more, which is pretty fun, but you got to pay $5 to support Overcrest. It's very easy. Go do it. I know you got to leave whatever app you're in. You got to go over to the website, overcrestproductions.com/Drivers Club. Click on a thing. Put your just it takes less time than going through the drive-through at whatever and getting your latte with caramel.
And then here's the bonus. Here's the bonus is that then every week you get an email from the Drivers Club that tells you when the episode is up ahead of anyone else.
Yeah, it's early.
Then you don't have to change apps.
Get this bonus
you just get the whole darn thing.
Yep, you get this bonus content. You can also import the RSS feed into whatever you use for podcasts. Did you know that?
I did.
Be there.
Yeah,
it'll show up early.
Sure.
Anyway,
there you go.
Support Overcrest, and if you're not going to support us, support someone. We've got a few new members. I wanted to acknowledge Keith Lawrence signed up today as we're recording this. Thomas Herb, Matt Strasbaugh, Jeff, Pizza signed up. Sutton Morris, our boy. David Oakes, Jag. It's actually J-A-G. Okay. Paul Akunis, Michael Chastain, Mark, Chris Say, VB, and that's it through recent times. Thank you all.
Amazing.
And everybody that's also a Drivers Club member, thank you. We have some pretty interesting stuff coming out that we're working on. Going to start lacing everything together, between Drivers Club, what Overcrest does, the podcast, everything's going to start getting laced together. So if you want to be part of that lacing, you're going to want to sign up for the Drivers Club, $5 a month. Lace it up. All right, guys. Drivers Club, stick around. Everyone else, we will see you next time.
Take care.
I lamented that there wasn't more short jokes that I could make. I tried to think of short jokes
because it was
speed
slow.
and short.
Yeah.
Because
I'm short but speedy.
You are speedy. All right, here's my bonus. Here's my bonus. And I really wanted to do air, water, land. That was kind of my thought with the three of those. Is it's air, water, land.
Yep.
And then I had this extra one, which I don't know. I read them both to Jess, and she said that the hot air balloon was more interesting with this one, so that's why we went with it.
Okay, but it's another air. It's another air.
In the 1930s, a new machine took to the skies.
Ooh, the
machine unlike anything that
Tell me it's
the
an
world
airship.
had seen before. It was